Frederick Dover, and this week on the History Channel, we'll be talking about the Vikings and why they were successful raiders. Here with me today is Professor Todd Blaston, who is an expert in Viking history. Hello, Todd.
Thanks, Frederick. Glad to be here.
First of all, Todd, can you please just talk to us about the Vikings and the lifestyle which helped them in being very successful?
Well, Frederick, the Vikings' weapons and lifestyle were very strange compared to normal armies that were taught to slaughter. Vikings weren't just farmers and noble people. They were savage and brutal. Most Viking men would go off and fight. Vikings are fearless people, and the more time they existed, the more barbaric they became. The rich Vikings would wear thick chainmail connected to each other by rings. This armour was very effective and could take most of the impact in battle. Poorer Vikings would have been padded up in leather, almost like a tunic. This would take most of the slashes in battle. Offensively, the Vikings were expected to have their own weapons. The most common weapons were spears, swords, battle axes, and sometimes bow and arrows. Spears were useful against infantry armed with swords or attacking cavalry. Swords were generally good, as they were great for slashing at the enemy's armour and were useful against poorer enemies.
Well, Todd, we know that helped them significantly, but were there any other things contributing that helped them become really successful raiders?
Well, Frederick, I'm going to be talking about the Viking longships. The longships were a big part in helping the Vikings become successful raiders.
The Drakkar was the battleship. It was useful as it meant that the Vikings could travel in shallow waters, which not many boats could do. It was supposed to be sturdy and easy to manoeuvre, and had to be able to handle open ocean and smaller rivers the Viking travelled. The Drakkar could either be sailed or rowed and had the capacity to hold up to 50 to 60 men inside of it. Some of the ships had the capacity to hold an extra set of rowers. Due to their light weight, the Vikings were able to put them in rollers and move the light ship from stream to stream to be stealthy. The curved shape at the front of the boat meant that it could hit the shore with no worries of breaking for a quick getaway after a raid. With this simple but a very effective tactic, they were able to travel most places in the European district. The Vikings knew the concepts of east, west, south and north, but to get them, navigation was more based on where on the horizon the sun rose and how high it was during the day, rather than the Earth's magnetism, which underlines the modern compass. They also used landmarks to determine their location if they were en route.
The last thing, Professor, that we'll be talking about is the Vikings' battle tactics. This was very important.
Yes, Fred, I'll be talking about two of the Vikings' battle tactics. The Svinfalking.
The Svinfalking was a battle formation where a group of heavily armed warriors would interlock their shields to form a wedge that had the centre pointing towards the enemy's formation. Vikings would beach their ships on land, where the battle tactics contained elements of surprise. Vikings were notorious for laying ambushes and using woods to lay in and wait for armies approaching along established roads. If confronted by legitimate forces in raids, Vikings would create a wedge formation with their best men, or berserkers, at the front of the wedge. They would throw spears and rush to this wedge through enemies' lines where they could engage in hand-to-hand combat, which was their forte. Vikings' military tactics succeeded mainly because they disregarded conventional battle.
Well, Professor, that's all we have time for today. Thank you for coming in and teaching us all about Vikings and why they were successful raiders. Just remember, next week on the History Channel, we'll be talking about World War II.